For my Curiosity 1-to-1, I decided to ask one of my mother's good friends if she would mind talking to me. Her name is Tripti, and as soon as I read the assignment, I knew I wanted to talk to Tripti because she's an aerospace engineer and has lots of experiences. I knew that I would benefit from speaking with her. Knowing exactly who I wanted to speak to left one little problem. Tripti lives in Canada. But I knew my mother calls her and texts her all the time, so I had to reach out to my mom to reach out to Tripti. And so my mom left a voicemail saying, hey, can you please call my daughter? Here's her phone number. Tripti called me 10 minutes after my mother left the voicemail, which was a huge relief. I explained to Tripti about the leadership minor class that I was taking, and she seemed really interested, in what I was doing. I then explained how I wanted to have a discussion with her about the experiences that she had in college and in her field of work. Tripti, being the amazingly kind woman that she is, immediately agreed, and we had set up a time to talk the next evening on the phone. I probably would have been more comfortable speaking face-to-face with her because phone calls make me really uncomfortable. I can't see someone's reaction, and I wouldn't have been able to tell if she was not comfortable answering a question. Especially because I don't know Tripti at all. I had met her a couple times in the past, but I never got into personal levels with her before, so I was really nervous speaking to her about such personal matters. So the next night I called her, and we had a conversation that lasted about 45 minutes. Tripti was going above and beyond, giving so many great details and such great advice for me as a student. I know Tripti is extremely supportive of my decision to go into aerospace engineering, and she's been telling my mom that if I ever need anything, she's willing to talk to me. Tripti never asked me why I chose to speak with her, but when I asked if I could have a small amount of her time and ask her a couple questions, I told her that she was my first choice because she's experienced in engineering. Tripti completed her bachelor's degree in India and then came to the United States with her husband to receive her master's degree in Washington. Just hearing the differences between going to school in India and going to school in the US was shocking. She told me that college in India was way more hands-on than college here. Her school in India had airplanes so students could see what they were learning firsthand instead of just seeing pictures in the books. But the biggest difference was in India, there were only 2 girls in the entire college. And a lot of people were questioning if girls can do that, if girls can be engineers. Upon hearing this, it really put into perspective the ratios of men to women in the College of Science and Engineering classes here. For example, my statics class, there's probably 100 students in the class, and maybe only 20 of them are women. I always thought that was a really low number, but this is a huge number compared to Tripti's entire college that only had 2 women. This is completely changing the way I'm looking at my classes right now. No one's questioning if I should be there because I'm a woman. While us ladies might be outnumbered, I know we have the same shot as any man to land a job in our field after graduation. One piece of advice that Tripti gave me was don't have doubts. If you have doubts, figure it out. She expanded on this idea with the example of selecting classes. If you don't like a class, you're not going to put in the effort, and it's going to negatively impact your GPA. She encouraged me to speak to professors or to seniors about my class options to know exactly what I'm signing up for. With registration right around the corner, her advice could not have come at a better time. I'm really going to start thinking about what exactly I'm signing up for because I want to be successful here at the U. I know it's a really minor life decision picking classes, but it has to be something that I choose. Not just something that I'm doing because the 4-year plan says I need to take it. As Tripti so gracefully put it, you have to love what you're doing. So far, I love what I'm doing, and I love what I'm studying, and this makes me feel like I really am on the right path. The idea that Tripti said to me that stuck to me the most, that I think of even now, 2 weeks after I talked to her, there's still so much to learn and so much to explore in aerospace engineering. The field I'm going into is really undiscovered. There are a ton of opportunities out there for me to just continue learning. Thinking about my conversation with Tripti, I think overall it went pretty well. I was fairly prepared and I had a lot of questions at hand just in case our conversation needed a little nudge. Next time I do a 1-to-1, I would prefer to meet with someone a little closer to home so I can speak with them face to face. I think that would make the conversation flow a little better and have a more personal feel. And one thing I know I'm never going to forget is I'm going to ask for advice. Asking for advice is super important because strong leaders are not afraid to ask for guidance.